I'm an intuitive driver. I just do it. This is the line through the corner. This is the where you put the brakes on. This is how I shave my times down, and sure, doesn't everyone do it that way?
When Australian racing legend Peter Brock's informal wills ignited a legal storm over his estate, it revealed that without diligent planning, even the greatest risk can turn into a disaster.
Can you walk us through the key events in Peter Brock's estate case?
Sure, and I'll just start with that as a car enthusiast, huge fan of Peter Brock, the King of the Mountain. And it was actually really sad to, hear of him passing away, driving accident. As a lawyer, obviously, years afterwards and recently reading of this case, it also gave me another degree of sadness, which is to see that everything he worked for in his life was then sort of in shambles, and there was a lengthy court battle about his estate by his family members. And what happened was, in 1984, he had gone to a lawyer and had prepared a will. And then in 2003, which is obviously considerable time afterwards, he then decided to update his will, but instead of going back to a lawyer, he haphazardly approached it and used a do-it-yourself will. And so he did that in 2003 and in 2006. And what happened was that he really didn't set out his intentions in that DIY will kit. It wasn't assigned, it wasn't witnessed by two independent adults, which meant that then the court had to look at which will was a valid will. Was it the 1984 will? Was it the 2003 will? Or was it the 2006 will? And this created a lot of uncertainty and a lot of turmoil for his loved ones. Brock obviously lived life very fast and in his driving profession, and also as part of his hobbies, right? What he didn't adequately plan for was, when you take all these risks, what happens if the unexpected happens and then you're no longer around? You really want to make sure that your dependents, your beneficiaries are looked after and are taken care of in your will. And he didn't do that, unfortunately.
And so, we spoke about the fact that he had 3 wills and used DIY kits. What would you say were then key lessons from that process that someone else can take away and avoid doing in the future?
So the key lesson is you pay for what you get. Yeah, if you're going to pay for a DIY will, then expect that you may be challenged, that it is uncertain, it is ambiguous, that it may not be executed correctly, and that it may not be valid. So that's a risk you take with a DIY will kit. That's a real shame, right? Because had he gone back to a lawyer, then he wouldn't have this dispute, this lengthy court battle with his family members. And another way, if I can pose it another way, is that the other way lawyers look at DIY will kits is that it's fantastic, because it means that there's going to be a challenge, we're going to be in court, we're going to have legal bills, and we're going to get paid. You don't want lawyers to win as a part of this will dispute. Then take your time and do it properly, and make sure that there isn't that dispute and ambiguity.
Are there some other key factors around handling the will process within the family? Kind of like having conversations, just telling your family being transparent about where your intentions are. How does that fit into the picture as well?
That's so important, because if you have that open conversations with family, you bring them in on the estate planning journey, then everyone feels like they're invested and they understand your intentions, everyone's on the same page. But if you don't, you hide it away and then you just unload it onto them at the end, and they may feel that it's unfair, it's not just, you haven't taken certain considerations. So only by having that open dialogue can you solve some of those issues. And that also highlights the importance of updating your will regularly as your life changes. If you get married, if you have children, if you go through a divorce, if you have other assets. In Brock's case, he had a huge car collection. All of those things should prompt him to think about, how should I leave these assets if I ever pass away?
Yeah, and so just to kind of wrap it all up, so estate planning then is an essential part of preparing for these events. Is there anything that you would like to mention about the importance of estate planning?
Definitely. So for most important, get your will done. Peter Brock obviously did in 1984, but always update your will and consult experts. So talk to financial planners about, okay, look at my asset pool now. What do I need to do to make sure I've got enough assets for my kids, for my dependents, for my beneficiaries in the future? To speak to accountants to look at the tax-effective structures in it. And then talk to your lawyer about your family dynamics, how you want to leave your estate, so that we can help you then prepare a will which reflects your intentions.